Hey guys, this is Mike Stromielli here for my BSN assessment number 2 for my last final assessment. Today I'm here with Elizabeth, and we're just going to call her Liz because she didn't mind me saying that. As we get started, I took Liz's health screening stuff and got her blood pressure, her vitals, and everything else in between. So her blood pressure was 120/80, which is very normal and within range. Her vital signs for her respirations were 18, which is very good. She had 61 in her heart rate and the temperature of 81.2. So Liz is in very good health, and she's going to be excited to get to join us today. So in talking with Liz and getting to know her just a little bit in my screenings, I saw Liz knew where she was, she knew who she was, she knew why she was here, and all in between. So we know she's awake, alert, and oriented ×3. She knows where her place is, she knows all these other things that are going on in this video, and why she's here today. So the first thing I'm going to do with Liz is we're going to move on and look at her skin and nails. So Liz, as I started looking you up and down, the first thing I wanted to do is, could you put your arms out like this? So I wanted to just check her arms like this. We see she's got a good temperature. Her skin's dry. It's cold outside right now, so is mine. So that's not anything abnormal. She's got a good warm temperature to herself. I like to take the back of my hand a lot of times and feel, and I'll do that bilaterally, just so we can make sure we're getting the equal thing. We wouldn't want someone to have you can put your arm right now, Liz, thank you. We wouldn't want someone to have a cold left arm and a warm right arm. So we do that to make sure that all those things are adding up correctly. As I was looking at Liz's arms, I noticed Liz has a tattoo on both of her wrists, so we would note that. She has no lesions or no signs of abnormalities. She has no edema. Her arms are well kept. So we know she's great there on that area, and we can kind of move on to the next thing. So after I got done looking at her, I checked both her radial pulses, and I even could check her brachial pulse. So I'm going to have you put your arms out one more time like this. Now you can flip them over. So would you go put your fingers out like that? Great. So we're going to do a grip test. Go ahead and squeeze me. Great. Now you can put your arms out like this again. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is check both of her pulses bilaterally. I can actually do this. The only one I won't check bilaterally is her carotid because I don't want her to pass out. So we're checking right now, and I'm going to get a temperature, and I'm going to get a time. Great. So again, I'm getting a great pulse. You can say it would be a strong one on our notes. Now we're going to move on to the next thing. We're going to look at Liz's hair, and we're going to look at her head. So the first thing we're going to see is Liz has well-kept hair. We can see there's no signs of lesions. There's no signs of anything else. She's got her hair in a ponytail, which is great. That means I can see her ears. We know she's free of parasites. She's free of anything else. It's funny we say that. We call them critters, parasites here in nursing. But we have to check because people could have lice. People could have other things that happen in there. So we want to make sure. Liz is laughing, so I'm going to have a good laugh too. We have to make sure we're checking for that. We see there's no cuts. Both of her ears are well kept. She does have piercings, but they're not in her ears. You can just tell by the little punctures there. So the next thing I'm going to do is, after I'm looking through her hair and I don't see any spots, no lumps, no missing hair patches, I want to check her carotid artery. So Liz, I'm going to do this once at a time, all right? I'm going to do this. You put your neck like that for me. I'm just going to check really lightly. I'm palpating her carotid artery just to make sure that everything feels good there and normal. Move to her left. Great. So we see that with Liz. Everything kind of checks out up top. I'm going to get my pen right here that I have in my pocket. And Liz, we just look straight ahead. I'm just going to look and see through pupils. Beautiful. And I'm going to do this one on this side. Great. So Liz has brown eyes, very nice colored eyes. Her eyelids are well kept. I can see her pupils are reactive to lice, or P-E-R-R-L-A. What I was able to say is easier to say that acronym than trying to say all that as a mouthful. So you can see that's great. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to look and have Liz kind of look up like this. I want to look inside her nose to make sure that she doesn't have anything where it'd be clogging one side or the other. People get cuts, have swelling, and it's hard for breathing. Do you have any breathing problems, Liz? Mm-hmm. You do have breathing problems? Okay, great. So what kind of breathing problems do you have, Liz?
It's hard to smell sometimes.
Okay, so she might have some venial traces. So what I would do is in my notes, I would note that Liz has trouble smelling. So Liz, look back up for me like this. There you go, great. So Liz has clear airways in there as I can see. Now, but one thing we would do is the smelling situation, we want to note that. Now, I wouldn't get into further detail of that. I would give that information to the doctor just because I want the doctor to know, hey, that he has everything that checks out and my assessment video is giving him all the proper things he needs. So the other thing we'll do is have Liz look this way. I'm just looking into her ear. I'm making sure she doesn't have any cuts, anything that abnormal, no discharge, nothing else that would say, hey, you maybe need to take a better look at this, Mike, because things like that can sneak up on people. She had no cuts, she had no edema, so we know Liz is going to be really good there. So the next thing I want to do is I want to look at Liz as a whole, and I'm going to feel on her lymph nodes. As I'm kind of feeling around her neck and her put my pen light away. That could probably get in there. I'm going to put you just like this, Liz. As I'm feeling around her neck and I'm kind of looking at different spots here with Liz, I'm understanding that I'm looking for the preocular and the postocular. You can even jump to the tonsillar. All these different spots we'd have, I would be assessing right here. So I do one at a time. And I like to do just like this and then kind of go to that one. I like to check that one. Good. And you know, with Liz, she's maintaining and having a well-kept body, meaning there's nothing up here that would seem abnormal, no like a jagged clavicle or anything of that sort. So those are really good, and those would all check out as normal within my range. You know, we've looked at her nose, we looked at her clavicle, we looked at her mouth, we've checked her teeth. She has all of her teeth, thankfully. I know sometimes in Arkansas we don't always get that. So she's got all of her teeth, she's well kept. Her mucosa, as I look, I'm going to check that, the last thing right here. Would you open your mouth and go, stick your tongue out? Perfect. So, Liz has got an intact mucosa. It's pink, moist, and intact, we would say. Everything's present. Her tongue's there. I saw a filling on the right side of her mouth. Is that correct? You have a filling right back there?
Yeah.
Got it. So, we understand she's got one filling noted. I can make sure I put that in my assessment charts. And we can move on to the next thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to listen to Liz. And I'm kind of going to go to the lungs area. Now, we're going to palpate and listen to the lungs. And also take the lungs as well. So we're looking for 10 different spots. The first spot we're going to go side to side very slowly. I like to listen for 30 seconds because I want to get a good breathing technique. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have Liz just take normal deep breaths. Nothing's going to change. We're just going to listen to the front and back of you. So go ahead, Liz, and take the first one. Okay, she can keep taking normal breaths. Just don't change up your breathing pattern as I listen. Now let's to the back now, Liz. You could turn sideways like this, just so we can all, yep, perfect. Fantastic. So in me listening to those 10 points, I can see that even while I'm listening, I heard clear lungs, and I didn't hear any wheezing, any signs of distress or diminishedness, and they would go in for a breathing technique. So everything looks good. And also, as I was listening to it, I can watch as Liz's chest expands normally. She doesn't have any lopsidedness. She breathes even and normally on both sides. When you look at her, and I was listening to her at the same time, you see she has a symmetrical look to her chest line. She has a symmetrical look to her breathing patterns. So all of those things would be normal, and they would check out very well. So the last thing I want to do is, as we're kind of staying up here, is I wanted to check the brachial pulses because I wanted to make sure I got all those. So I was going to have you just do this, checking these pulses. Fantastic. So I really felt like I covered everything kind of up top in the upper torso with her. The next thing you want to do is you want to look down at the abdomen area. So Liz, have you had any pain or anything between your chest area or your stomach area? None at all? Fantastic. So Liz has no pain in her, so I can kind of feel around the sides of Liz's stomach, and I feel there's nothing, no abnormalities, no lumps. Do you have any cuts or anything that happen? Any piercings, nothing? Okay, fantastic. So Liz has nothing of those in between, so that's great. The next thing I want to do is I want to start with the right lower quadrant of Liz's stomach, and I want to listen to her bowel sounds. I want to see if they're active, or hypoactive, or hyperactive, because those three things are definitely going to be something that we want to note and make sure. We're always looking for people to have active bowel sounds, because if they're really hyperactive, that can say, hey, we might have an upper clot in our intestines, or if it's a hypoactive, we can have a really slow one or be constipated. So we're looking for something in between of those two. So Liz, I'm just going to have you stand there again, and I'm going to listen to all four of your quadrants. All right, listen to this one. Fantastic. So in me listening to Liz's stomach, I would probably listen to each quadrant for 30 to 60 seconds. but for time on this video, I didn't want to just stand there awkwardly. I could tell you by listening for the first 10 to 15 seconds that she had an active vowel sound. It was present. You know, you could hear it when upon my auscultation. So we would chart that as normal range findings, and we'd be very happy with that. The last thing I wanted to do is, while I had my stethoscope here, is I wanted to listen to her heart sounds, because we're listening to her lung sounds, we listen to her bowel sounds. We wanted to go to the heart, and I wanted to make sure we were tackling that. See, the heart's made up of many compartments in many areas. So when you're listening to things like your aortic, your pulmonic, your Erb's point, the different points we have in our body, we want to make sure that everything sounds the same. Nothing is not present. Like, you want a present S1 sound, you want a present S2 sound. If you didn't have those, then you'd be like, oh, you know what? We might have an issue here, Mike, or something might need to be talked to, maybe to a cardiologist there. So I'm going to take one more listen to her heart area right here, and then we're going to kind of move away from the stethoscope. Okay, Liz, I'm just going to have you just relax and take normal deep breaths. It's not going to affect anything with your breathing. And while I'm doing this, I can auscultate for 60 seconds on her aortic, and I can listen to all the other sounds that go in between. Her apical, if I can say that word right, apical pulse, I can listen to that for 60 seconds, and with me listening to that, I can kind of get a good idea of what her heart sounds like. So I'm going to do that as well. Fantastic. So that, we'll say that is 60 seconds, and I heard a regular rhythm and rate, so I was very happy to hear that. Now, Liz, the last thing I want to do is, while we're kind of keeping the top part of your torso here, is I want to say, do you have any other cuts, scars, swelling here in your arms? I wanted to feel up and down these two here, as well as feeling all that, checking. I'm looking for any kind of scars. I'm looking for any kind of cuts. Sometimes people don't notice lumps. Lumps can pop up anywhere in your body, so we're looking for those. We're feeling for those, because if that happens, we want to make sure we're charting. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of take the camera here, and I want to go down, because I want to start with Liz's knees, if we can see that. Let me check and see if my video is still going. Perfect. So we want to check Liz is, I can get that right, perfect. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure I'm feeling Liz's leg. I'll actually take a knee right here, because I'm not going to have her sit down. What I can do is I'm going to start from her knees, and I'm going to go down. I'm feeling for any edema. Now, Liz, have you had any problems with swelling or anything else? Fantastic. Okay, so we're glad to hear that. So as I'm feeling, I can feel different arteries. Do you mind if you take off your shoes very quickly? I just wanted to feel the two pulses here. Duralis pedis pulse and femoral pulses, which is up here. We'll feel those. Great, they're present, they're strong, they're active. Feel those. We'll feel the ones back here. Great. Now, Liz told me before she started, I'm going to put this back up here now, guys. Liz told us before she started that she painted her toenails, and she clearly has painted fingernails. So one thing that stinks is on this thing is we can't check her capillary refill. Now, Liz, do you have any numbness or tingling or anything going on in your fingers or toes? Mm-hmm. Do you have any tingling or any numbness in your fingers or toes?
No.
Great. So we know that because she doesn't have any of that, and she's been moving around pretty well, and on assessment we know she's got good circulation and a good rhythm there. Another thing I can do is I can take her arm and I can kind of pinch it and watch it drop. And it's got less than 3 seconds. We know she's got a resistic and elastic arm drop with her skin turner. So those things all check out. We're making sure we're checking out our capillary refill, but we can't. So then the last thing we're going to do is just say, thank you guys for a great video. We're done. Thank you, Liz, for allowing me to do this assessment on you. I hope this was helpful and clearful, and best luck to everyone else in their BSN program stuff.